Namaste, beloveds. This is Valerie Ames, aka Mother with Wisdom, and this is a very, how can I say, this is a phoenix born, ancient high priestess, Kundalini, root, up from the root, chakra, up from the root that was sown originally in the alchemy of the creation of the feminine divine being, the creation of the womb, the creation of the function of the womb, not just metaphysically, physically, spiritually, symbolically, spiritually. What did I leave out? As a sign of the times. Um, this this video is coming from a particular summer solstice solar flare. I'll put it that way. The ultraviolet rays spoke in ways that were received and were written down and is going to be related to you in this video. So bear with me if I seem a little, this is a new, not new. This is a revelation to myself. This is a remembrance of myself. This is an awakening to myself, to my higher self. As I have always known myself to be, but did not have the words to bring the understanding to fold. I'll put it that way. But the words that were spoken or received long ago, this is what is blossoming. This is what is unfolding. And there is a specific playlist of mine that I was listening to as I was getting myself all dolled up, so to speak. And I'm going to include that playlist because it has a lot of essence. It has a lot of my essence, frequencies, spectrums, self-knowledge, self-revel. How can I say this? It's the journey. It's the journey unfolding through the music. It's very private, but it's also very public. And this is coming to the fore. This is being born from the knowledge of watching the observers, knowing that you are observed and being okay with that observance. It's a voyeuristic self-discovery, so to speak. And this is what is, I guess, is the next step for me. Where it's leading to, I'm just following. I'm just doing. I'm just being led, beloveds. I'm just being led. Um, and I'm silencing all of my vulnerabilities to the point where they fear the unknown. And I'm making them aware that it is in the unknown that you gain satisfaction of unfolding, becoming, being, knowing yourself. It is only in the unknown that the possibilities can feed you, and that you can consume, and as a being of conscious choice, choose what feeds you, where you want to go, and what is going to be seated within you. It may not bloom right away. It may take years, it may take another lifetime, but it's seated in this one. And so this is let me get to it. This is a very powerful. I think this, if I were to come right down to it, I would say this is the most powerful video that I have created, that I have done, that I have given birth to, that I have been a part of, that I have been a vessel for. So understand the essence that's coming through, understand the message that's coming through, understand the sensual, erotic, reproductive, orgasmic, yummy, juicy, fertile energy. If you want to judge, you go right ahead, baby. Do you. Okay? This is not about that. This is not about appearance. Oh, hell no. And if all you can do is be moved by appearance, you need self-reflection big time. You need to put yourself in a timeout and go within, close your eyes, and broaden, allow the rest of your senses to mature. Take away the eyesight. Blindfold yourself. You remember that song, I can see her plain as day. She was with Nas. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Blindfold me. That's the ticket. Blindfold yourself. Allow your other senses to awaken, to become awakened, to become clairsentient in them. And understand that this is your higher self. And allow it to take you to higher places and not just the profane. Okay, let me get to it because all of this is in this. And so, once again, beloveds, namaste. I am Mother with Wisdom, also known as Valerie Ames. And I've been doing this for a while. I have a sexual, sensual page on Facebook called Honeycomb Conversations. I have done a lot of these sexual, sensual, healing, high priestess kind of videos on Blog Talk Radio as Mother with Wisdom. Everything is there, beloveds. That is the foundation. This is not new for me. Okay, it may be new with you seeing this, and it's new for me to come out and so fully represent, because I've always been holding back, just. But now it's like, you know what? Watch me unfold. And this is not this This is a confidence of the high priestess. This is a confidence in the divine feminine. This is a confidence in the divine feminine that is currently under attack. And she's bringing herself forth. She is no longer being put in a corner and being told what and who and how she can be, how she can appear, how she can act, how she can interact, how she can assume the bondage and chains and wear shame and guilt and blah, 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 blah. Mm-mm. This is the freeing. This is the liberation. This is the alignment of coming back to yourself. This is remembering yourself. This is making the womb the most sacred space that there is to manifest and create from. The womb is uninfluenced by all the chaos on the outside. Okay? It is only seated, and what is seated grows. Let me get to it, beloveds, because I'm just speaking from the top of my ovaries right now, I'll say. I have titled this, we have titled this, Sexual Soul Contracts. Again, I'll say it again, Sexual Soul Contracts. And today is June the 22nd. That's 6/22/2022. And I have not done the math, but I'll do it in the notes. And I began writing this down at 1:06 p.m. I was told to put all that there. Again, this is called Sexual Soul Contracts. The creation of I was told to drink this tea. I got a lot of teas over there that I drink. This is traditional medicinals. That's what the brand is. Traditional medicinals herbal teas. This is organic turmeric with meadowsweet and ginger. And I've been eating the the little dried ginger pieces with the sugar on them that called to me when I was in the grocery store and I was in that organic aisle, and it just was like, okay, I was like, okay, and I got some and I've been eating it, and it's been helping with my digestion. It's been helping with cravings. It's been helping with feeling satisfied within myself. And so this turmeric and this ginger and this meadowsweet is very important and very powerful right now for this high priestess energy, with purifying and getting yourself together internally, mentally, spiritually, alchemically, aligning yourself. Ginger, turmeric, and meadowsweet. Okay, and I'm doing it in tea form. Whatever form you choose to do it in, it's good for you right now, in this season and in this cycle. Okay, and each of these little tea bags on the tag has a little saying on it. And this is what the tea bag said, my tea bag, the little saying on my tea bag said. The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. The creation of 1,000 forests, not a tree, not one forest, 1,000 forests. Now I want you to think about that, because inside that acorn, inside that seed, are seeds of seeds of seeds of seeds of seeds. And that tree is going to produce how many acorns? And what's going to happen to those acorns? The creation of 1,000 forests in one acorn is in one acorn. That's Ralph Waldo Emerson. And beloveds, I want you to understand I'm not going to say the vein, I'm going to say the womb space of this show. And I want you to go with me and be with me in this space when I say the creation of one womb is 1,000 galaxies. Are you with me? Is that too much for you to process? That's divine wisdom. That's telling you how important the womb is, how in creation, how essential that divine womb is, how essential it is for you to observe and be attuned and in alignment with that divine feminine when it comes to creation. In the result and the culmination of what is created. By the universal laws, you reap what you sow. What kind of wombs are you creating? What kind of womb, what are you fertilizing these wombs with? Is it with unconditional love, or is it with lust for the divine feminine essence? Do you show appreciation and gratitude, or do you just want to get off and escape your reality? Ancient high priestess, sex was used to help the male with their entities, with their attachments, with the powers and principalities that were influencing them. Blew my mind. What is the oldest profession? Prostitution. Sacred prostitution. Sacred high priestesses and priests. Why? Because they were the vessels that dealt with these higher beings to communicate, to align. The frequencies of these attachments and entities that take place, that were born through the womb of creation and destruction and reborn. From galaxies, multiverses, however you choose to use different words to understand past, present, and future merging. However, you need to understand what takes place within a womb cycle. Okay? Period. Full stop. When you understand the heat, the season of heat, the summer solstice, the solar flares, all of this, like I said, is stirring. I have been, if you go to my Valerie Ames Middlebrook Facebook page, right now it is the violet flame is all over the place on it, because that is the flame of purification and bringing you into healing alignment. That is also the crown chakra. That is entering that flame. And I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to get sidetracked with that. So I'm going to bring it back to this high priestess energy with using sex to, the soothsayers, the sages, the healers, those who are in tune with their sexuality. Now, whether they're wounded healers or not, that it is part of this. It is a big part of this, because this is the wave that's bringing all of this back up into our consciousness, that this needs to be addressed. This needs to be healed in order for the world to reflect the healing. This has to be healed within us before it can be healed and we recognize it and the manifestation grows from the world. It has to be balanced here, seeded. The whole process has to be seeded here first, has to germinate here first, and then we inject that into the earth. That conscious awareness is penetrated into the earth, and the earth begins to manifest from this balanced place of balanced sexuality and sensuality within ourselves. Let me get to it, beloveds. And like I said, this is going to seem that I'm going back and forth, but pay attention to what is coming forth, because what is coming forth is not scripted, okay? What is coming forth is coming forth from a subconscious and unconscious that is being opened by solar flares, by ultraviolet lights, by ancient revolutions of the galaxies and the solar systems and everything else coming around and aligning for this Aquarian age. This is the refilling of conscious awareness through the subconscious and unconscious. So we are receiving these things to bring forth so that they come through us because we are living wombs Doesn't matter male or female. I'm not talking about a physical womb. Okay? I'm talking about the essence of the divine feminine, of being the receiver of this. Okay? And the receiver is able to nourish it, nurture it, and give birth to it. That's what I'm speaking of. So if you, once again, if you think I'm speaking of only what you can see, put that blindfold on and sit down and shut up. Okay? Because I'm not talking about that. It goes so much more deeper than that. If that's like kindergarten. Okay? We want you to come to the university of yourself. Graduate up through those ranks and get here. Get here to this higher godly self. Okay? Graduate from preschool and kindergarten. Come on up out of there. You should know now, but it's not, you don't judge a book by its cover. You don't measure time by a linear straight line. It's circular. It's spherical. It's spiritual. Okay. Again, the ancient high priestesses who had their own universities, who had their own womb cells, who had their own woman cells, tribes, universities, civilizations, and ways of where other young girls who were chosen, who were able to receive high frequencies. These were the ones who were cultivated and who were sent to these women to teach. They were sent as young children. Some of it is bloodline, some of it is not. What was taught was unconditional love. And through that unconditional love, self-communication, self-knowledge was taught. Knowledge of self. What do I mean? I mean self-knowledge of yourself as a spiritual being and a spiritual vessel, a conduit and a conductor of that kind of energy, frequency, spectrum. You're able to receive and you're able to transfer, transmit, and transmute. That was the That was the connection, baby. That was the connection. Okay? That was the connection. You got to go into the whole. Okay? The whole has got to ring you. She's got to come down on you. Okay? And it don't matter who's on top or who's, again, that's sight. That ring, that vagina, that womb, that's where creation happens. That's the road. That's the path. Okay? In a couple of my videos, not videos, in a couple of my self pictures and portraits that I took for this video, the fluids of the divine feminine are red and clear. Okay? Red, clear, or white if you want to call it white. Some will call it white, some will call it clear. Just depends on how thick and how deep you go. I'll put it that way. Cream is cream, okay? And it cream ain't got nothing on 2%, 1%, and so we're not gonna discount the cream, okay? Blood and the cream, white and red, milk and blood. That is the essence of the divine feminine. My granddaughter gave me this harlequin. She's speaking to me right now. These are the colors. These are the colors of the cosmic crossroads. Red, white, and black. These are the colors of creation. These are the colors of sexuality. The pure white, the dark, the red light district. The black is the unconscious. It is what everything else arises out of. The white is the milk, is the nourishment, is the purity. The red is the blood. It is the lust. It is the fire. Okay, each of these also represent an element. She has a mask on. Remember I told you about put the mask on, the blinders. There's so much in this video that's coming out in this moment, beloved. So, like I said, right now, I am so full, and what you're receiving is gold. It is truly gold. Let me get back to it and take the me out of it. Ancient high priestess, sex was used to help the male with their entities. And before it was used to help the male with their entities, this is where meditation, knowledge of self, self-worth, self-confidence, communication and understanding with your inner voice, knowing who you are and knowing who you are not. Learning to listen to not only your consciousness, your awareness, your conscious awareness, but your subconscious awareness and your unconscious awareness. That is the Holy Trinity. That is what needs to be in alignment for you to be spiritually intact. For you to be spiritually whole and holy. You have to have one voice from those three places within your being. That voice is the divine feminine. That is the womb of all voices. That is the wisdom of all voices. That is the divine feminine speaking to you and through you about you. And there is none higher. But there are lower. And those lowers will try to influence you, inspire you, deceive you, trick you, to lower your vibration, to go against yourself, to miss the mark, to sin, to lower your frequency. That is who you war against. That is what you war against. It is not something separate from you. It is one with you. The Cherokee called them the two wolves that live inside, that are at war with each other. I've said this and shared this many times. You can look it up online. The story of the grandfather and the two wolves, who are at war with each other. Which one wins? The one that you feed. What does that mean? The one that you feed. The one that you have intellectual conversations with. The one that you sit down and try and talk with. The one that you are influenced by. The one that you relate to. The one that you feed and it feeds you. Communication is everything. That's what sexuality is, beloveds. Sexuality is communication from the highest sense. That's why it's been degraded so. That's why what's the most highest selling thing in the world? Sex sells. Why? Because that is what we are. That is what we came from. I've worked in nursing homes. You have elders with dementia. Don't know who they are, don't know this and that, don't know. But every now and bing, that libido, that sexuality comes awakening and it's in them and awakens and it immediately takes over, and that's their focus and that's their drive. They don't even know their names or where they're at. But that comes through. Seeing forms of that, whether it's just romance, the most, I guess you'd call it vanilla of things, soothes them. Just like the most profane porn soothes those who are of that frequency, who delve into that frequency, who listen to that speaks to them. It's a communication. It's an interaction. With more than just your senses, with more than just what you see and know about yourself. It is most ancient, beloveds. And that is what Spirit really wants you to understand. This is ancient. This is of the origin. This is where we're headed back to, this kind of knowing. Because you have to have this kind of knowing as your foundation. If you don't know who you are, then baby, you're lost. You're lost in space. You're just lost. You're just out there, unconscious. This is about bringing your consciousness back to your roots and expanding it. Okay? Let me keep going, beloveds. It was communication done through many ways, tools, rituals, ceremonies, depending upon the tribe, the culture, or the clan. Sexuality. Through the high priestesses, through the high priests, through the kings and the queens, through the original ways, beloveds. You look back on all the fertility whatevers, from the pagan, the Christian, the blah, 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 all the most ancient, back to the divine feminine principle itself, back to the hokmah, the wisdom itself, back to the breath itself. Okay? It's communication. and it's done through many tools. And I want you to, um, I play a word game on my phone, and out of the blue, I get this advertisement of this little rose thing, and it's got this little tongue flickering out of it. And I'm like, what the hell? And it gained, instead of just letting the ad play and going back, that caught my attention, baby. It caught my attention, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? And I go to the ad, and it's got these different speeds, and it's there are different people that have reviewed it and saying, oh, this is the greatest thing since water. you know they're like, oh, it has these different speeds, and the texture of it is soft, and this and this and that and that and that and this and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, okay. And I just blocked it out, and but now I understand. This is part of the tools that we use for our sexuality. And in my judgment, I was like, wow. And my imagination, baby, we woo, okay. And so I'm like, if you need that kind of the maximum stimulation, and I got to think the maximum stimulation in myself, and I just saw me as a rocket just going through the roof, and we ain't gonna go there. Like I said, my imagination is something else, but we all have different needs. We all have, we all are at different sensitivities. And some of us have, because of sexual healing or sexual trauma, we have a certain language that has to be spoken to us in order for us to respond. And this can be done through the tools, this can be done through the rituals, this can be done through the ceremonies. And when I say it was tribal and it was cultural, you have to understand that within you there you have many ancestral taboos. Okay? It's not even from this lifetime. There are many things within you that's taboo. And some people, they go from their vanilla all the way to their rocky road, blah 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 blah, with all the sprinkles. Okay, so it's not about judgment. It's not about that. It's about what your senses appreciate. Some palates, that vanilla, oh my god, that vanilla bean, that's it. They don't want anything to take away from that. Your palate is different. You want some strawberry on that, or some chocolate fudge on that, or some butterscotch, or some nuts, or some sprinkles, or some cake and some cookie dough in there, or you want something else in your ice cream. It's very different. And each of these flavors communicates and satisfies us differently. And we need to realize this is what sexuality is all about. It's about the relating, it's about the communication. Okay? It's about the willingness to explore, but it's also the willingness to, what's the word? It's not commit, to the willingness to, I'm just going to say, um, concede, because I can't come up with the word right now. to bend your compromise. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your willingness to compromise and your partner's understanding when you say, no, I can't communicate in that way. I can't receive that. I can't transmute that. I can't participate. I don't speak that. That's foreign. No. And there has to be that kind of communication, beloveds. Okay, let me get to this, or this video is going to be so long. The ancient priestess, connect the dots, beloveds. They were the ones who helped. The ancient priestess, the medicine people, the healers, the medicine women, these were the ones who communicated with nature and helped the body and helped the mental, the spiritual, the soul. This video is about soul contracts. Your first soul contract is with yourself. Who are you? Okay? Who are you as a soul contract is based upon your DNA, is based upon the womb you came out of, is based upon the sperm that fertilized you. You know, you're encoded with the language of who you are. The high priestesses were trained to help you ground yourself and get that information. And it was done through communication. And communication ultimately led to you sexually going within yourself and finding that self within yourself and having that orgasmic experience, that oneness. That's everything. That's what that was about. And people got away from, well, I don't want the communication part. I don't want the talking part. I don't want the massage part. I don't want none of, just give me the orgasm. I'll just pay for that. Okay? That's all I want. All of that stuff you do, that's extra. I don't want, just give me the. And that polluted and made what was being done profane. Because it was not whole and it was not holy anymore. Sexual soul contracts high genetic bloodline. I'm sorry, high genetic bloodline. That's a whole different topic right there. Sexual soul contracts through genetic bloodlines. This is based on the maternal line because even the father came through a mother. The seed was sown through her womb. And this goes into the blood compatibility and the RH factors, etc. Sexual soul contracts through genetic bloodlines. I need a drink on this one. I'm getting the words, beloved, so just give me a moment because I'm tapping into something really deep here and bringing it forward, okay? So just bear with me. Okay. To say this way. Um, from the beginning of time, there have been pairings, there have been matings, just like two cells come together to make tissue. Tissue comes together to make organs, so forth and so on. Each of these cells is its own single life and life force. Each of these cells has its own power and principalities that it is attached to. Through the galaxy of everything that exists in possibilities, the seen and the unseen form, unite, and create union. And through the union, creation is born, creation is manifested, creation takes on the genetic codes that is imprinted upon these cells and these tissues that are present within the blood. Okay, that blood that's in the semen and the eggs and the ovaries and the lining and everything that's feeding from the womb. That child gets more from its mother than it gets from its father. Gets more from its mother because of the umbilical cord. It's because the mother's heart, her blood, her everything filters through that child's heart. Okay? That is the divine feminine. That is the sexual union. That is the result of orgasmic bliss, creation, the culmination, this three, this child, of the mother, of the father. The codes of the father, the codes of the mother, both are now in this one being. Sexual soul contracts. When you have sex with another being, let me say when you have sex with yourself. Let's start there. Let's sit down on that bus for a minute. Let's get on that train. Let's get on that plane for a minute. When you indulge in self-pleasure, okay, self-sexual touch, manipulation, even if you don't touch yourself, even when you just are using your imagination and just going there within your mind, you are going there within your heart. You are going there within your conscious awareness. You are going there within your subconscious awareness. You are going there in your unconscious awareness. Those three are aligning to create a situation or a circumstance that is going to help you fulfill what you are desiring. Because if you're sitting up there imagining it, you're desiring it. Okay? And your desires are seated by the images that you have around you. The images, the frequencies, the sounds, the tastes, your senses feed these things. This is your sensual. Please remember your sensual is attached to your sexual. They are one. Two sides of one coin. Sensual, sexual. Okay? Everybody is stimulated differently. But it's sensually and sexually. where that takes you, how you get there, it's your creative process. It's your manifestation process. It's also your situation and your circumstances. We're talking about bloodlines. So I want to get deeper into the previous lifetimes of your bloodline. Your bloodline was influenced, is influenced, will be influenced by powers and principalities that are unseen, that dwell within the unconscious, the subconscious, and the conscious. Okay? That's where the powers and principalities live, dwell, are, come from, emerge from, begin at. Okay? It's not flesh and blood that you're battling or dealing with. It's these powers and principalities. These powers and principalities, again, are what directly influence your unconscious, your subconscious, and your conscious awareness. This is energy frequencies. These are energy codes. This is ancient energy that no longer has form as we know it, but we all know that energy cannot be destroyed. And through the universal laws of attraction, magnetic polarity, so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, this is your self. This is what you need to know about yourself. This is what you need to be able to observe. Your mind is born from the womb of your subconscious, unconscious, and conscious. It is one voice, or it is many voices. But if you believe that voice or those voices to be you, then you are at war with creation, because you have split yourself, because that voice is not the truth. It lies and it will separate you from you. This is a part of creation. Birth, death, rebirth. The Trinity, again, beloveds. Birth, the unconscious. Death, the subconscious. Rebirth, the conscious awareness of death and birth. Okay? So I know that this is a very deep video, and I know a lot of these the word philosophies. Oh God. Okay. Okay. Philosophies. Friends of Sophia. A lot of these philosophies will speak to you in many different ways. Understand, beloveds, the intricate nature of your very being. In order to do that, again, you need to connect with the intricacy of a womb, the function of a womb. When that womb becomes fertile, the age, what happens when that womb is not ready to, after puberty, before puberty, after puberty, after maturation, when the womb is no longer viable. Okay? This is the divine feminine. This is the essence of creation. This is the communication. This is the language of sexuality, of reproduction, of being fruitful, of multiplying. It is one language, divine feminine. It's one voice, divine feminine. Now, where you take that voice, whether it's pure or profane, that's up to you. And what you do with that voice is simply you looking to identify that divine feminine within yourself. From the different voices, from the bloodlines that are within you. There is no existence exists. Many things have happened within your bloodlines. Many things have happened to your ancestors, just as many things have happened to you. Life happens to us all. It is the communication between yourself and life that is important. You must know the language. You must know how to communicate with yourself. It takes me back to the self-pleasuring. No one can please you the way you can. You cannot relay to someone else what the needs of your body are, what you like, what you don't like. You have to know yourself. Many of us don't know. Many of us have encountered partners who, because of what they have been exposed to in their own bloodlines, introduce to us their tools, their ways, their paths, their customs, their ceremonies, their rituals, their instincts and intuitions. And they imprint those things upon us. We receive them, whether they be pleasant or unpleasant, whether it be unconditional love, whether it be lust, whether it be violence and hate. It is a language. And all of it exists within you, each of us. Take note of why the divine feminine has been under attack. It is her language that has been under attack. It is her language. That is why the ancient languages were destroyed. Okay? That is why we're looking at cuneiform and hieroglyphics and everything else, because that is the language that has survived. that language is in picture form, in images and symbols and signs. And it is in those symbols and signs and pictures that speak to the blood within us, the essence, the attachments, the entities within our bloodstreams. Okay? It connects with us on that level. It speaks and communicates with us on that level. When we are ready, certain things will communicate to us in ways that we are able to receive. Sometimes things come to us and we're not able to receive them. We're not able to process them. We're not able to understand them. Some aren't able to hold them. They go crazy. This also has to do, like I said, with the mixing of bloodlines and understanding the communication and the connection at a cellular level, and understanding that each cell talks to the other cells. And when you have a miscommunication, you have dis-ease within the cell, and the cell is not able to replicate itself the way it needs to. Okay? And that is where genetic defects or defects come into play. I'm going to get into something very deep right now. And everything has set the, they want me to say set the stage for this. So everything that I have said that has come from me so far has set the sage, set the sage for this. The sage is speaking. Has set the stage for this, beloveds. Okay? We're going to get into this portion of this video. This is called Sexual Soul Bondage. Sexual Soul Bondage. The essence that created you determines what influences you most, your most genetic memory, code, DNA, communication, conscious, subconscious, unconscious. The essence that created you determines what influences your most genetic memories. So, let me get the ways to say this for you, beloveds, because this is a very deep conversation that we're getting ready to have right now. And I really want you to be open to what Spirit is saying to you, okay? Through me, but to you. Sexual soul bondage, okay? So we're not just speaking of soul bondage, but we're speaking of sexual soul bondage. And I want you to receive this the way it was given to me. And it was given to me through the memories of the womb of many high priestesses. Okay? The blood is life. The blood is existence. Women bleed when we get us to be a certain age because we are able to reproduce. We are able to incarnate spiritual life on this plane through blood. I showed you the white bottle and I showed you the red bottle. I showed you the white liquid, which represents the semen, which also represents the mother's milk within her body. Some call it soma. This has a certain frequency to it. Cream soda. It has a certain frequency to it. It is on the same playing field as blood plasma. Okay, this is just plain plasma without the blood in it, without the hemoglobin in it, without the blood factor in it. This is the carrier without the blood. This is the blood. This is the liquid that has the hemoglobin in it, that has the iron factor, gives it the red color. When women bleed, it's a much darker color than this, much darker. And it gets as dark. I have had periods that were heavy and so heavy that the blood was almost black. Okay, blood was that dark. It was that dark of a burgundy, that dark because of the impurities that were coming from my body. Okay, let me put this back. Sexual bondage, sexual soul bondage. These are contracts from long ago. Blood contracts. This is when we were at our highest frequencies before this lifetime. Whether it was this planet or another, doesn't matter. Through sexual intercourse, we were bonded with another. That created a soul contract. That is when we spoke telepathically. That is when we existed on a much higher plane. Those soul contracts were interrupted by the higher and the lower languages mixing, warring, however you deem to see that happening. If you see the light being sold to the dark or being traded to the dark or vice versa, even. Love is love, unconditional. Many have not cared about the mixing and the blending. That's where all that prejudice within us and in our languages and in our understanding and innerstanding that wars with us comes from. Because of the higher and the lower frequencies blending together. The contracts that it forms. The Bible calls that the sins of the father. You cannot get away from these contracts. That's why many of the oldest civilizations with their gods that they worshiped gave their firstborns to them, or devoted their children to their temples, or that's who became their high priestesses and their priests. It's in the bloodline. It's in the communication. It's in the ability to receive, to transmit, to transfer, and to transmute. Many soul contracts were created through sexual contact. That is how karma is worked out. There comes a time and a cycle where contracts can be broken, where those soul contracts are no longer binding. The Bible calls that time period Jubilee. We are at a Jubilee opening. We are beginning a Jubilee cycle. The changes that you see taking place, know what you're seeing. Have faith in what you're seeing. Have faith in yourself. Begin to have conscious conversations with yourself. And I'm not talking go and masturbate and play with yourself or go and play with someone else or a toy. I'm saying have these conversations with yourself. Learn to observe yourself. Observe yourself from your perspective. Observe it from your parental perspective. Observe it from your community's perspective. Observe it from your cultural perspective. Observe it from your spiritual perspective. Observe it from your earthly perspective. Observe it from your galactic perspective. Observe and know thyself. In order to know thyself, you have to speak that language. You have to understand and understand the signs, the symbols, the significance of times, cycles, and seasons. To receive, to transmit, to transform, and to transmute. This is how you free yourself from your soul contracts. It is something you do for yourself. It is not something that is done for you, on behalf of you. It's what you do. And it is only completed when it is completed. When you have the knowledge of yourself, and understand that you're in a season and a cycle that is allowing you to grasp this knowledge, to hold on to this knowledge, to discern what you're seeing and understand, well, why didn't I get this sooner? Because it wasn't time, baby. It wasn't time. The way we see time and measure it and regulate it is perennial, is annual, is cyclical, you know? These are the time periods. When you look at it from the most ancient of days, you see it from a whole different perspective and understanding and way of knowing. And that is the perspective that is the truth. I'll say it like that. That is the truth. The sexual soul bondage. I've done some videos speaking about Juanita Bynum's, what is it? Something sheets. Let me get this right because it's very important, beloveds. Okay, let's do it again. Juanita Bynum. Let's see here. I am looking for something very specific. I know it's about sheets. It's something I heard. Let me just go to the Wikipedia. Um, it's something, it was a tape a friend gave me and said, "You've got to listen to this. You've got to listen to this." And I listened to it and I was never the same. No more sheets. No more sheets. No more sheets. I was never the same after I listened to that because it brought about such revelations within me about myself. And it brought about, it speaks, she doesn't call it this, but the sexual soul bondage that takes place with each sexual encounter that you have, even with yourself, beloveds. Okay? Even with yourself, even with a toy. You're creating a memory within your tissues. You're creating you're opening a cellular portal. You're creating a sexual memory. You're reliving it. You're redoing something. I want you to understand that you are speaking this language. And this language is either going to keep you in bondage or it's going to release you from bondage. If you keep reliving the same old scene over and over again because, oh, that felt so good, but the relationship was toxic, then you're not telling yourself the whole truth. And when you're reliving that situation, you're reliving the toxic as well, whether you know that or not. You're inviting that toxic bondage. You're strengthening that cord, that bond, okay? That chain. You're reinforcing it to that being. This is what is meant by do not be attached to things or people or places. Because that attachment will hold you in soul bondage. It will enslave you and it will hold you. Through its own powers and principalities of existence. Okay? So be very aware of what you form bonds with. Be very aware of what you mate with, what you have sex with, what you feel sensual about and with. And not just the beings, but the memories, the places. Our wanting to just remember certain things, but not all of it. We want to color it one way, rosy, but it kept us black and blue. But we just want the little rose. No, you're bringing all of that back to you because that's the language of that. And your unconscious and your subconscious is receiving that, not your consciousness. So I'm going to link no more sheets in this video because it's very important for you to watch it to understand what she is speaking of. And I don't give a damn what happened to her afterwards, what she's doing right now, what you think of her. Spirit speaks through beings, beloveds. And it's beings change all the time. And it's not up to you to judge where someone is at right now, what lesson they're going through. That's not on you. Whatever they're communicating to you, their spirit is communicating to you, it's up to you to discern that. Is that something I want to consume? Is that something that will help me? Is that my ancestors or something that I have a soul contract speaking to me on how to get loose? And it's coming from this, but I'm not going to judge. There's an example in the Bible of Balaam riding a donkey, an ass, and they were going to kill him, and an angel stopped the donkey, wouldn't let the donkey go. Balaam didn't see the donkey. Balaam didn't see the angel, excuse me. Couldn't see it. All he knew was that the stupid donkey wouldn't go. The stupid ass, the stupid mule wouldn't go. And he just beating on it, talking to it, cussing it out. And the angel didn't talk to the donkey. Didn't you don't want to go that way. The donkey can't speak to the man, to Balaam. Finally, it was revealed to Balaam that the donkey didn't take you there because the angel had stopped the donkey. And if you had have gone that way, you would be dead. I want you to sit with that and understand it. Just like we're dealing with This comes in the time of travel when all the airplanes and airports are having their difficulties and this and that and this. And we want to get so upset and so this and so mad and so this and this and that at them. Baby, you just don't know. All the things that are going on in this world at this time, you just don't know how many angels has got your back while these things are going in motion. What you're missing during that travel time. What could happen. But what your guardians and your guides and your angels are keeping you up out of. But you are so dead set and dead centered on having it your way. Because you don't speak subconscious and unconscious. And you don't know how to center yourself, ground yourself, and be at peace. When you are not at peace, you're somebody's beast. Okay, you're collared. They're walking you. Whether you're that little chihuahua. Sexual bondage, beloveds. Do you know how many of us have had children and are enslaved by that energy and by that essence within them? That ancient energy and essence in them that attracted us to them? And we had children now, so we've joined, so that energy has come through our flesh. Our blood and their blood has mixed, and we have this child now. So our worlds were bound even tighter together now. And the Bible calls that an uneven yoke. Again, the sins of the father are visited upon the children. That child is going to come through that womb. Whatever that mother is going through emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, it's going to impact that child. That environment that she's in is going to impact that child. Consciously, unconsciously, and self-consciously. Okay, I'm going to move forward. Sexual soul theft. Understanding the war we fight is not against flesh and blood. It's not against human beings. That is why in humans, the things take place on this earth. Understanding the war we fight is not against flesh and blood. So understanding all these powers and principalities over all the galaxies have converged to this one place that we call Earth. And that all the soul thefts and soul ties and everything else is working itself out through the generations upon this planet. And we'll be given a certain time period for things to happen that will lead us to self-realization, self-conscious awareness, to the point that we're able to redeem ourselves, to the point where we're able to free ourselves from our powers and principalities. Okay? And we ask, how can a human being do that to another human being? We see so many things taking place. We look at wars. We look at rape. We look at, I posted, I posted, um, I posted a post about a young girl, young, young mama, in her teens mama, leaving her baby with a babysitter that she knew and trusted. Wasn't no stranger. She knew this woman. This wasn't no government sanctioned, blah, blah, blah. This wasn't no daycare. This wasn't that type of situation. She knew this woman, trusted her. This woman killed her child, beat her, bashed it against walls. Guilty. You ask yourself, how can another human being do that to another human being? Not just how can somebody do that to a child, how can a human being do this to another human being? Powers and principalities that are communicating through her bloodline. Okay? You're not dealing with this human being, you're dealing with the powers and principalities that are animating her, that are speaking to her that she is not in control of, that she is not able to say, shut the fuck up. But ones that are ruling her, that got her so running full of scared, ain't been able to sleep, ain't been able to do this, just driving her, that's riding her like she's the ass, okay? To her death, her spiritual death, the death of herself as she knows it. And she's unable to observe it until it's too late. Sexual soul theft. I want you to understand that you can have sex with someone and those essences, that red and white that I spoke of before, you're exchanging bodily fluids with them. That's essence. Now, whether they're taking or just receiving, or you're giving, it doesn't matter, because soul theft takes place in all of that, consciously, unconsciously, and subconsciously. Powers and principalities are at play even when you're having sex, beloveds. And depending on who you're having sex with, those powers and principalities are being fed. Okay? Because that's what they feed upon, is essence. And through sexuality. Whether it's the full-blown sexual act, or whether it's just the thoughts in your mind, or the desires of your heart. Sex is giving and receiving. Rape is taking and receiving. Look at your relationships. I'm reading my writing. Look at your relationships, all of them, not just sexual. Exchange out of essence, given through communication, forms memories and attachments and addictions to memories that contain the essence exchange. Remember, I was just speaking of that a minute ago, that the exchange of essence is a communication that forms, that creates, that gives birth to memories and attachments and addictions. Addictions to those memories, addictions to that feeling, to that person's powers and principalities. Okay? You can sit up here and say, well, what is it about this person? Blah, 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 blah. It's not the way he looks. It's not about his money. It's not this. It's not. It's his power and principalities that got you collared, leading you around on the leash. Okay, that you can't get them out of your mind. It's the powers and principalities that's swimming, that's been sown in your unconscious, your subconscious, and your conscious awareness. That's what's feeding it. Words, music, color are sensitive stimulators to our frequencies, vibrations, spectrum, receptors, wombs of creativity. So, beloveds, understand how we interact with each other through the powers and principalities of words, through the powers and principalities of music, through the powers and principalities of color. All of these stimulate us sensually. All of these relate to our sexuality. This is about our frequencies and our vibrations, our spectrums, our receptors of womb and creativity. This is about the divine feminine within each of us. Whatever we encounter is rubbing her in some kind of way, it's touching her in some kind of way, it's stimulating her in some kind of way. And that is why Spirit has had me keep putting the hashtag Divine Feminine under attack. Look at the music lately, beloveds. Look at the clothing. Look at the morality. Look at the leaders. Okay? Look at the clashes and the communications that are coming from these things. What we consume, we are, equals what we consume consumes us. Oral sex and why the ancient taboos. Again, oral sex and the taboos that go with it have to do with the fluids, has to do with the white and the red fluids and the exchange and the energies and powers and principalities that those essences contain. What is being done with them, what they are feed, the powers and principalities that are being fed within that being that is consuming them. They're consuming genetic material. They are consuming communication codes. Understand what you are exchanging every time you spread your legs. Bad boy, bad girl, attractions and addictions, blood debt, memories, soul ties to certain entities, their originators and masters. That sounds just like what it is, beloveds. That some of this stuff is ancient. You find yourself attracting the same kind of being, meaning you keep attracting the same kind of power and principality. And the same kind of power and principality keeps treating you exactly the same. And you keep submitting to it. And you find yourself seeking it and crying and heartbroken over it because you're attached and you keep reattaching. And every time you become unattached, you're so addicted to it that you've got to have it. You know what you like, and you know what likes you. Laws of attraction, universal laws. What you're seeking is seeking you. The powers and principalities that you're seeking, oh baby, they're seeking you. Mm-hmm. Sure right. Originators and masters, in previous lifetimes, you may have been bound. You may have had a soul contract with this being, or this being is working through another being, through their own initiation, through their own beliefs, through their own religion, through their own ceremonies, through their own whatever. And they're feeding from you. They're trying to keep you in bondage, in your soul contract to them, or to that, whether it was some other lifetime. They see you as a high priestess who has been reborn, who is unaware of herself, but they have gone through their initiations and whatever, and they've been waiting for you to come back through. And so they send their minions to entrap you, to enslave you, to keep you in trauma and drama so that you do not become spiritually conscious, awakened enough for your conscious awareness to expand so that you can receive your own downloads of who you are in your own language. Okay? Understand what someone taking your language means. Someone taking your voice means. They're taking the divine feminine from you. Not just your physical femininity. They're raping the divine feminine within you. Understand? Sex magic is ancient. It is what sons of God brought to the earth plane and taught. Baby, that's deep. We are told of the Nephilim. We are told in all these mythologies and so forth and so on about beings who are like gods coming to the earth, landing on the earth, falling to the earth, being born in the earth. Of gods having relationships with mortal women, okay? Of mortal women giving birth to gods and demigods and so forth and so on and so on. This is the sex magic. This is the powers and principalities being introduced into the bloodlines. These are the contracts, why the contracts are established, how the contracts are established. You may have been bound to this power and principality, that soul, that spirit, eons ago, for eons. But if it is your time for Jubilee, it is your time to break free of that. You are no longer under the servitude of this power and principality. No matter how long it wants to hold you, no matter how low and in how much darkness it wants to keep, the divine feminine is rising. She is arising in us all. That is the awareness. That is the consciousness that is expanding. That is the divine feminine. That is what has been under attack. That is what has been kept hidden. That is what the ancients taught with their symbols of the divine goddess mother figure. Okay, the womb, the mother figure. Whether she had a head or not, you understood that body was feminine because it was not what was in her mind. She was the womb, she was the divine feminine. It was taught to males and females, this sexual magic. It was beyond heterosexual practices, desires. It was used to amplify portals within the genetic essences of creation. I want you to understand that the divine feminine is within all of us. It is within males. That is the wisdom of creation. Okay? If a being relates more to that within them, if that voice speaks more to them than their male voice, their divine masculine speaks to them, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? To say which voice they should answer to. Huh? Or what they should represent within themselves. The divine masculine within me, I had to come to terms with. I had to really come to terms with the divine masculine in me. And I had to realize and regulate that side of me, because that side of me pissed males off. Because that's who would engage them. And they was, excuse my friend, you more nigger than I am. Oh, you got more, you think you got more balls than I got. Or you want to beat my ass because I'm a woman, but I'm sitting up here and this shit is coming out of my mouth. Mm. So the divine masculine in you can't handle the divine feminine coming out of me. Even though you're getting it from that divine masculine part of me. That's the one that's nigga what? Nigga who? And the use of that word comes from Naga. It's the original spiritual being. Okay. Do your research. I've been speaking on these things many years. This is not new to me. It's new to some of y'all. Because y'all just now hearing that divine feminine within you. And that's because we're in the Aquarian age and it's filling back up within you. And when I'm saying this, don't get it twisted, because I can feel and I can hear some of you wanting to say, oh, is this where all these little homosexual boys, is these flamboyant boys, is and these little girls that's more men and studly, and again, you going with your eyes. It's not about what you see. You can't see spirit. They can show you who they is all day long, and you gonna say, nope, 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 nope. You this, you this, you that, and you this, and you that. Why? Because you say so. You don't even know who you is. Get the hell on. You don't even know what a divine feminine is within yourself. How you gonna tell me about me? For some, it's natural. For some, it's a choice. But it ain't up to you to judge that. It ain't up to you. Stay in your lane. Okay? Stay in your lane. Worry about you. You got enough stuff to worry about, believe me. Understand the divine feminine within you. Then you'll understand the divine feminine within everyone else. You'll understand the divine feminine in the earth. You'll understand the divine feminine in the planets and in the rotation of the planets, in the cycles and seasons, okay? In the migrating times. You'll understand the divine feminine in all of that once you just know it in you. You'll understand the myths and the lore. You'll understand why the gods, the angels, the blah, 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 were attracted to that divine feminine and left what they knew to get to it and to influence it in their image. Okay? One of the things in their image, the last mummy that Tom Cruise did, that female mummy, that was in man's image, tells a big story. Don't miss out on it. Don't just be entertained. Get some education. Sex magic is ancient. It is what the sons of God brought to the earth plane and taught. It was taught to males and females. It was beyond heterosexual practices, desires. It was used to amplify portals. And when I say it was beyond heterosexuals, it was beyond male and females. They brought animals into it. They had plants. They used tools. They used toys. They used blah, 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 blah. Okay? They used alchemy. They used all kind of things, beloveds. You have to understand what is being told to you, right? What is being communicated to you right now about sexual theft and sexual soul contracts and things that have happened that have certain things attached to it, certain taboos, certain, all of these things, beloved. All of these things is, again, a form of communication. And it is something, anytime you're having sex, you're doing something to the divine feminine through the divine, with the divine masculine. Okay? Understand that. Breath being the biggest port. What was the first gift of life? Breath. When somebody is having sex, even as a child, if you don't know what the sex act looked like, but you've heard the breathing. You know. You know. Nobody has to tell you how to sound like that or how to do. That's what takes over your body. That kind of breathing, that kind of sound, that kind of energy, that kind of release of energy takes place through the breath, through the most natural. Okay. Breath being the biggest portal. Let me start at the beginning again. Bad boy, bad girl. Attractions and addictions. Blood debt, memories, soul ties to certain entities, their originators and masters. Sex magic is ancient. It is the sons of God brought to the earth plane, and it is what the sons of God brought to the earth plane and taught. It was taught to males and females. It is beyond heterosexual practices and desires. It was used. Sorry, I got this little. Okay. It was used to amplify portals within the genetic essence of creation. All this sex magic is used to open something within you cellularly, to amplify or to call or to invoke these powers and principalities to come up through you, come up within you, to magnify their frequencies within you. So that you do what? You multiply. It was taught to males and females. It was beyond heterosexual practices, desires. It was used to amplify portals within the genetic essence of creation. Breath being the biggest portal of the hormonal releases through the organs, tissues, and cells that culminate in orgasm, which is a culmination of the journey for the entity attachment. It is how it is fed. Again, this is what the powers and the principalities eat. And it is the alchemy of them which it feeds upon. And you have to go no farther than Jesus saying, drink this and eat this, and this is my body. Okay? Thus you have the separation of light and dark, light to dark, pure to the most profane, unconditional love and unconditional lust. These are the polarities that come to feed. These are again the two wolves that are within you that are at war with each other. The strongest one is what you feed. The one that manifests and multiplies is the one that you have sex with the most. What is sex? Communication. The one that you communicate, meditate, give power to. Give the power to manifest your story. When you give power, you're having sex with this power and principality to bring about, to create, to manifest your karma, your existence, your desires. That is your abilities as a child of God to create and co-create through the breath of the blood. Spiritual observation and identification helps to keep essence clear in communication. Spiritual observation and identification helps to keep essence clear in communication. Doubt comes from a lack of clear communication and commune. Baby, listen. What do you communicate with? Where do you commune? What is your community made of? What does it exist of? What are you filtering? What are you transmuting? What are you receiving? What are you giving? Excuse me, I'm sitting here like a fish. Slow down. Make sure that what you are giving is being received by those who can receive it. Don't worry about if someone is giving you the credit for it. Again, that goes into the sexual alchemy of give and take. and soul theft and soul retrieval. Okay. Communication and commune. Doubts come from a lack of clear communication and commune. If you're surrounded by people, places, situations, and circumstances that are always dragging you down, that are always diminishing your light, that are always talking about your parents, that are always trying to enslave your thinking and your mind, then you're at war with those power and principalities, and they are kicking your ass. And they have infected you through your own thinking. They are affecting you through the beings that you have had sex with, through the food that you've eaten, through the music that you listen to, through the art that you watch, through the conversations that you have with yourself, whether sexually or not sexually. Okay? Self-knowledge, self-mastery, self-reflection, and self-observation. Unconditional self-love is what nurtures and nourishes growth, expansion, maturity, and the gift of satisfaction, which is peace, which is orgasmic bliss. And this comes from the alignment of self-knowledge, self-mastery, self-reflection, self-observation, and the balance of that. And that is the end of this video communication, beloveds. And there's a lot to process. There's a lot to receive, transmit, transform, and transmute for you here in this video. Please do so freely. Please do so at your own speed, within your own process. I would suggest you light a candle. I would suggest you be in a space that's not too bright, where you can reflect on what is rising up inside of you through these communications, through your senses, through your sense of hearing of what you've heard. What and where does it speak to you in your own body? What aspect of you is arising through that? Is it touching old memories? How are you relating to it? Is it totally has nothing to do with you and you can send it on its way? Again, beloveds, this is spiritual wisdom. It is very potent and very powerful because of its timing and the fact that it's being given right now is not, and shut up, Edmund, yes, I'm touching my wig, is not random, beloveds. It's in alignment with the cycles and seasons right now. And The fact, once again, that I opened all of this up with the solar flares that we're having June 22nd, 2022. When 6 p.m. Sexual soul contracts. The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Namaste, beloveds.